Are you Veritas certified? Veritas certification is an industry-recognized program that validates that you have the knowledge and skills to deploy, manage, and administer Veritas products and solutions. If you are an IT professional responsible for information availability, backup, and recovery, email storage and archiving, or other aspects of information governance, Veritas certification is for you. Becoming Veritas certified distinguishes you from your peers by showing your current and future employers that you are serious about applied learning and that you have experience in administering Veritas products. In today's competitive job market, where many IT professionals have the same well-known certifications, having a specialized credential like the Veritas Certified Specialist can set you apart from the field, opening the doors to new opportunities in your industry. Over the next few minutes, we'll show you how to prepare for the InfoScale Availability 7.2 for Unix and Linux certification exam. You can find everything you need to know about this exam at go.veritas.com/certification. Click Exam List and navigate to InfoScale, InfoScale Availability 7.2 for Unix and Linux. This page provides specific information about the exam, such as the number of questions, the passing score, and so on. In addition, this is where you find the exam preparation guide and the sample exam. To prepare for the exam, start by downloading and reviewing the exam preparation guide. This will provide you with an overview of the exam. This guide lists recommended training and product documentation to review and provides guidance on how to prepare for the exam. The exam preparation guide also outlines specific lessons and topics from the training that you should study to meet each exam objective. Once you are familiar with the scope of the exam, you should sign up for the recommended training classes. Veritas certification path diagrams provide guidance on which courses to take. These diagrams are available on the education website. In the description below this video, a complete list of website links is provided for your reference. Gaining hands-on experience with the product is also important. Veritas recommends that you have 6 to 12 months of experience working with InfoScale Availability 7.2 for Unix and Linux before taking the exam. The exam preparation guide provides a list of common tasks that you should be able to perform in your environment. If you are already certified on an older version of the product, you need to focus your study on new features introduced in later versions of the product. For example, the Veritas Cluster Server 6.1 for Unix exam introduced global clusters, support for virtual environments, including LDOMS, multi-site management, and virtual business services. And with Veritas InfoScale Availability 7.2 for Unix and Linux, changes to covered features include triggers, service group relationships, data protection mechanisms, failover policies and attributes, including priority-based failover and adaptive HA, virtual environments, including just-in-time availability and container support, cluster maintenance techniques, and troubleshooting using configuration and log files. After you attend the recommended training and have acquired the hands-on experience, continue to use the exam preparation guide to prepare for the exam. This exam tests your knowledge and familiarity with a variety of components and features of InfoScale Availability 7.2 for Unix and Linux. The Prepare the Environment and Create a Cluster section covers planning for, installing, and verifying an InfoScale availability solution. It also covers configuring a cluster and cluster data protection mechanisms. In the Configure Service Groups for Application High Availability Requirements section, you are tested on evaluating and preparing an application for high availability. You also need to be able to configure and customize service groups and resources and anticipate their behaviors during startup, failures, and normal operations. In the Modify and Maintain the Cluster section, you are tested on your ability to configure, reconfigure, and modify notifications, cluster communications, data protection mechanisms, cluster node membership, and cluster attributes. In addition, managing and administering InfoScale availability environments is covered. The Understand More Complex Configurations section tests you on service group relationships, triggers, and clusters in a virtual or global environment. And finally, the Troubleshooting section covers communication faults, using configuration and log files for troubleshooting, service groups and resource failures, and startup and shutdown procedures. The next step in preparing is to practice your exam-taking skills using the downloadable sample exam. The sample exam provides 20 questions that represent what you can expect to see on the exam. Set aside 20 minutes, clear your desk, and time yourself taking the sample exam. You should average 1 minute per exam question. In the actual exam, you will be asked to answer 75 to 85 questions in 105 minutes. Some exam items test your knowledge of product features and functionality. Other items are scenario-based and test your ability to apply the InfoScale availability solution to meet a need or solve a problem in a real-world environment. Let's look at a few items from the InfoScale Availability 7.2 sample exam, and I'll explain the type of knowledge required to answer the items correctly. Which two characteristics must an application have to be eligible for high availability using Veritas Cluster Server? In this question, both A and D are correct. A is correct because VCS cannot fail an application over to another server unless the application has the ability to run on it. And D is correct because without well-defined start and stop procedures, the application startup and shutdown cannot be automated. B is incorrect because VCS agents monitor the application resources on the local server. There's no need for remote monitoring. C is incorrect because VCS also supports applications where the application binaries are installed on storage shared across all cluster systems. And E is incorrect because VCS supports applications running on both physical and virtual environments. Next question. Which two communication configuration files need to be modified on the existing nodes if a new node is added to the cluster? In this example, A and D are correct. A is correct because the gab tab file contains the total number of nodes required to be communicating before the cluster can be automatically seeded. If a new node is added, the number has to be incremented on all gab tab files on existing nodes. D is also correct because the LLT hosts file lists the mapping of node IDs to node names for all nodes in the cluster. If a new node is added to the cluster, its node ID and name have to be added to this file on all existing nodes in the cluster. B is incorrect because the LLT tab configuration file includes information about the LLT configuration on the local system, which does not change by the addition of a new node to the cluster. C is incorrect because gab hosts is not a valid configuration file used by VCS cluster communications. And E is incorrect because the host files on the cluster system are not used by VCS cluster communications. Next question. A parallel service group named WebSG is online on SIM1, SIM2, and SIM3 in a 3-node cluster. The service group contains a critical NIC resource and a non-critical phantom resource. If the network device specified in the NIC attribute fails on SIM1, what is the resulting state for the WebSG service group? A is the correct answer to this question. The service group is faulted on the system where the critical resource has failed, but remains online on other systems where there are no failures. B is incorrect because the failure on one system does not affect the status of service group on the other systems in the cluster, even when the service group is a parallel service group. C is incorrect because the NIC resource in the WebSG service group is a critical resource. The failure of a critical resource results in the service group being faulted on that system. And D is incorrect because VCS takes a service group offline and faults it when a critical resource fails. Now here's the last question. What is the purpose of the quorum resource type in a fencing environment? For this question, C is the correct answer. C is correct because the quorum resource is used to ensure there is at least one IP address available for the coordination point server communications when the coordination point server is configured to use multiple virtual IP addresses. A is incorrect because there is no resource that monitors the database on the coordination point server. B is incorrect because the coordinator points are monitored by the coordination point agent if configured, not by the quorum resource. And finally, D is incorrect because VCS does not use third-party fencing solutions. You now have an idea of the kinds of questions you'll see on the exam. After you've taken the recommended training, gained the hands-on experience, and studied the sample exam, you're ready to register for the real thing. To register for a Veritas certification exam, you need to obtain a Veritas Cert Tracker ID. Select a test center location and follow the registration instructions provided on our website. See the links in the description below to access all the resources referenced in this video. If you have any questions, you may also contact us by email. Congratulations! You are on your way to becoming Veritas certified. Remember, to begin your path to Veritas certification, visit go.veritas.com/certification. And best of luck in taking the exam.